Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1962B, and today's date is September 5th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Confirmation, the Swamp is Being Drained. We knew this day would come. Now, over the last 30 days, Capital One, the Central Bank of Europe, and the great state of Texas have all been hacked in major data breaches. This is starting to get really out of control, guys. Who's going to be next? VPNs can be used to shield your browsing activity from prying eyes. Here, let me show you how easy this is. Go to Virtual Shield, download the free 30-day trial, install it, and click Connect. This month, Virtual Shield is offering the anniversary special of 30% off all VPN plans. Sign up for a free 30-day trial to Virtual Shield VPN and see what the hype is about. You have nothing to lose. Click on the link below. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. We now have confirmation that the swamp is being drained. This is a very slow process. Everything had to be put into place and planned out to maneuver around the deep state. Remember, Trump and the Patriots, they only have one shot at this, and it has to be done at the right time with their right compelling evidence. Timing is everything. We'll talk about this a little bit later in this report, but first, let's talk about Jussie Smollett. Now, Rosie Memos tweeted out the following. For the record, 225 days ago, a letter was sent via United States Postal Service to Fox Studios that included a death threat against Jussie Smollett and white powder. To this day, no one has been charged. Why is that? Rosie Memos continued. The law is pretty clear unless, of course, you can't charge a person for sending a threat to themselves. If so, the American people deserve an answer. And Rosie Memos is pointing to 18 U.S. Code 876, mailing threatening communications. And it shows that, yes, you'll be held on charges for sending a threatening communique through the mail system. Now, we need to go back to post 3255. This was March 28, 2019. Trump tweeted out the following. FBI and Department of Justice to review the outrageous Jussie Smollett case in Chicago. It is an embarrassment to our nation. Q says it shall be done. So right now, the Department of Justice and FBI, they are investigating this letter with white powder. Now remember, this is not the deep state where they use propaganda, where the whole thing was set up and they know exactly where it came from. They need to track down all of it. They need to gather evidence, and again, there are no leaks whatsoever. And I do believe that very soon we will be hearing something, because as we can see, Jussie Smollett's attorneys, they're trying to get out of repaying the Chicago police, saying that they shouldn't have investigated so hard. That was ridiculous. But no, the police, the FBI, the detectives, they should be investigating. And it doesn't matter how easy or hard they do it, as long as they find the evidence and they bring the charges. I believe that Jussie Smollett and his attorneys, they know what's coming, and they're trying to get out of all of this. Remember, there's a special prosecutor looking into what Kim Foxx has done, where there were like 19 or so charges, and she dropped them all. Now, very interestingly, Greg Craig was acquitted on charges of lying to the FBI about his activity as an agent of Ukraine, and he was the former Obama White House attorney. Now, Greg Craig was accused by Special Counsel Robert Mueller and lead litigator Andrew Weissman of FARA, which is the Foreign Agent Registration Act, lobbying violations, and later charges he lied when questioned about them. The Greg Craig FARA pursuit was similar to special counsel accusations against Paul Manafort and Michael Flynn, and special counsel threats towards the same objective against George Papadopoulos. The sketchy use of potential FARA violations to capture targets was a specific technique deployed by Weissman. However, the difference between Manafort and Flynn was Greg Craig decided to fight, including fighting claims he lied about the lobbying construct. Instead of taking a high-pressure Department of Justice plea deal, today a jury rejected the accusations. Now, one juror, Michael Meyer, who's 60 years old, said he was agitated that the prosecutors, including Mueller, had devoted resources and attention to the case given the more serious allegations that he said were illuminated by the special counsel's work. Technofog tweeted out the following: "This is a big loss for the Department of Justice National Security Division, who ignored these alleged FARA violations until they needed to prove up their surveillance." Now remember, this was Mueller, Weissman going after these individuals. And again, how did Craig get off? Well, it looks like he was tried in D.C., tried with the swamp, and he was able to walk. Does this mean it's all over? No, absolutely not. Because as we can see, the deep state right now, the swamp, they are struggling. This is just small potatoes. We're going to see Flynn completely get off. And it looks like there was another lawsuit that was dropped against Trump. I mean, there was Stormy Daniels. That was dropped. Actually, she had to pay Trump. The DNC lawsuit was dropped. And now Alva Johnson. This is the campaign staffer who accused Trump of forcibly kissing her. Now, in the video, it shows Trump coming in, shaking hands, hugging, kissing the staffers. And he went up to her, kissed her on the cheek. They spoke a little bit, and that was that. But again, she was trying to push an agenda, and it didn't work. And it's all starting to fall apart for the deep state. Devin Nunes, he decided to file a lawsuit against Fusion GPS. The Nunes lawsuit alleges Fusion GPS participated in racketeering and a conspiracy smear campaign. Now, Nunes, he filed a $9.9 million federal conspiracy lawsuit. And it looks like the bank records produced by Fusion GPS revealed that the Clinton campaign, the DNC, and Perkins Coie paid for Fusion GPS anti-Trump research. And think about discovery. Think about what he's going to find out. And we already know that Barr is investigating all of this too. The deep state is getting hit from all sides. Now, Lindsey Graham is pushing for an investigation outside the IG report. He said the following: "Why should the Senate wait until Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz completes his report on the origin of the FBI's investigation into Trump's 2016 campaign to hold a hearing? It shouldn't. A Senate hearing would force former senior Obama administration officials to answer some of the most poignant questions regarding the investigation into President Trump's campaign and Russia." Graham sent a letter last week to Attorney General William Barr asking him to declassify the slew of documents that are now with the Department of Justice and which have been promised to the American people. Graham said in his letter that Horowitz's report is nearing completion, but the release of the report shouldn't be a prerequisite for an investigation. As for Connecticut Attorney John Durham, he is conducting his own separate investigation, and according to sources, he is continuing to interview all major players involved, including CIA officials connected to Brennan, along with foreign sources connected to the FBI's original investigation into the Trump campaign. So we have all the investigations going on. Some of them are winding down, some are continuing, and the deep state, they are in trouble. Trump is continually drip-feeding the public on what is coming. He tweeted out the following: "Absolutely nothing is more important than going back and getting to the bottom of the origins of the investigation." Now, it's very interesting. I'm just going to stop here with the tweet. During Mueller's testimony, I believe it was Jim Jordan who said, "Let's go back to the beginning to find out how this all started." Let me continue with the tweet. "He had an administration using America's spying apparatus to spy on a political opponent at the height of a presidential election. Those are all known, undisputed facts, and that should terrify every American, regardless of their political stripe. The idea that all of that information hasn't already been revealed shows how dastardly these people are and how terrified they are about what's going to happen when that information does come out." Charlie Hurt, Washington Times. Now, Trump is letting everyone know that this is a fact. They were spying. They have the evidence. They have the FISA documentation. I do believe that the timing of the Epstein investigation and the release of the Comey report, then declas of FISA, was timed perfectly together. The entire story with the same players, they needed to present this all to the public at the same time. Because if they just showed spying and treason, people would be like, all right, whatever, we're interested but not that interested. But having these people implicated in crimes against humanity was needed to bring the real pain and let the American people see who these people really are. And actually, Q told us this. Let's go back to post 2576. Q said, this is December 10th, 2018. Those with the most to lose are the loudest. In the last couple of weeks, haven't we heard more Hollywood actors attack Trump? And there are others that are continually attacking Trump. And it says those with the most to lose are the loudest. Think about that for a sec. Those who knowingly broke the law in a coordinated effort, treason, that's in brackets and bold, are the most vocal. Crimes against humanity. Move to post 2871, February 22nd, 2019. And Anon asks you a question. Joe D says, sedition, not treason. Is that delineation accurate on those who were involved to frame Trump and the American people? Please advise. Q says, sedition, treason, crimes against humanity, crimes against children. Now, Judge Jeanine Pirro and Tucker Carlson, they are now projecting out into the future, the very near future. They're letting the American people know that, yes, the whole entire Epstein thing was a blackmail system to blackmail Hollywood actors, actresses, royalty, politicians, CEOs, you name it, business people, people on Wall Street. It was there to blackmail all these individuals to keep the deep state agenda moving forward. And this is their conversation. Tucker. So if the speculation is true and Epstein's real business was running a blackmail scheme against the powerful, then there are likely to be tapes and implicating documents. And there's already been hints that there are tapes. Now think about it. Going back in time, this is not going to be digital. Most likely, they actually have videotapes. These are not going to be deep fakes. These are going to be originals. This is way before deep fakes. Judge Jeanine Pirro. Well, you got Prince Andrew at his home with young girls coming out, and, Prince Andrew saying goodbye to him. We have it right there on tape. They are projecting what's coming and letting the people know what to expect. Let's go back to post 2513. This is November 30th, 2018. Q says the following. Why do the Clintons remain in control of many still in power? Then there are 3 arrows pointing to the word blackmail, which is all in caps. Under this, it says the Clinton family is working overtime. Panic in D.C. Nothing can stop what is coming. Nothing. Right now, they are setting everything up. They only have one shot to do this. This was pre-planned a long time ago. And they knew they needed to bring the perfect storm together. And once you have the perfect storm, you just wait for the right time. And what they're doing is they're dripping out the information. The first was the Comey report to show that Comey was up to no good. They didn't want to press charges because these are just memos. These are FBI policies that he didn't follow. And this wasn't the slam dunk. The slam dunk is the FISA warrants, which he got illegally. And he signed. And he mentioned John Roberts. I'm talking about Trump in his tweet. Because who appoints the FISA judges? John Roberts. Actually, who can hold Comey in contempt of court by providing fake information? Well, those same judges. Think about what's happening here. There's always a reason why Trump mentioned these individuals' name. And remember, John Roberts, he's the one who said over and over that Obamacare was unconstitutional. And one day he said it was constitutional and then disappeared for 2 weeks. You think he's a black male Supreme Court justice? Most likely. Trump is pointing the finger at him, saying, you better act, you better do something, because it's all falling apart. Now, I just have to mention this part. The mainstream media is pushing the idea that Trump created a fake path of the hurricane. This is Dorian, who is headed towards Florida. And this came out of the Washington Post. President Trump showed a doctored hurricane chart. Was it to cover up for Alabama Twitter flub? Now, the media went into a frenzy with accusations he broke federal law by doctoring a federal weather report. And all of this is completely fake, phony, and false. Actually, think about this. For days on end, they were telling us that the hurricane was heading straight into Florida. And it was going to go right into Florida, then up north. What happened? Nothing. None of that happened. It turned north way before that. And if you look at the forecast, they were only showing one track going right through Florida. And those people who live in Florida, you know what I'm talking about. And everyone went crazy. So actually, I guess you can hold all the news stations accountable for giving us fake information, scaring us, because there were many other models that you could have chose from. Actually, they were using the European model. They could have chose the American model, which showed the storm doing exactly what it's doing right now. But they didn't choose that one. Very interesting. So Eric Trump, he dropped the hammer on the Washington Post and everyone else. He blew away the false reporting that Alabama was never in danger from Hurricane Dorian. So he produced, guess what? The actual path of the hurricane. This was August 29th. The National Hurricane Center warning map dated Thursday, August 29th, shows Alabama in the field of expected tropical storm force winds from Hurricane Dorian. They actually kind of kept this for a couple of days. Eric Trump tweeted out the following. This pettiness from the Washington Post is exactly why the public hates the media. This is a basic graphic from the NHCI. Don't think it's beyond comprehension that Alabama was in the path had the storm not gone north. Stop the BS. The Washington Post is a joke. Trump also tweeted out that this was the originally projected path of hurricane in its early stages. As you can see, almost all models predicted it to go through Florida, also hitting Georgia and Alabama. I accept the fake news apologies. And there was another American model that showed it going up north. But the mainstream media never really talked about that. Now, there is another fake story that's going around. This has to do with social credit score to determine eligibility to purchase a firearm. Remember, this was the deep state. This is what they always wanted. They wanted to control people. Actually, it reminds me of China. But they're taking this and they're projecting it onto Trump. And Liz Wheeler tweeted out the following update. A source familiar with the internal discussions at the White House tells me that the Washington Post story about the Trump admin considering a social credit score to determine eligibility to purchase a firearm is absolutely false and has never even been discussed. Do you really think Trump was going to use a social credit score to decide if you should get a firearm? Who does that sound like? It sounds like the deep state. Think about the UN Arms Treaty that Kerry was pushing through the Senate, trying to get Obama to sign it, where the UN would be in control of the weapons. There would be a UN database, a registry of all weapons. They would know exactly who owned what, except for the black market, of course. They're the ones who want this. Trump doesn't want this, just like the red flag laws and everything else. It's all fake. Yes, he might come out after an event and say, all right, we'll look at it. It's his way of brushing off the mainstream media. Because remember, optics are very important. Now, what's very interesting, we know that Trump is saying that he would like to meet with the Iranian officials at the UN meeting, the upcoming meeting. We also know that the Afghanistan peace deal is moving forward. Plus, U.S. officials say negotiations with the Yemeni rebels, the Houthi, well, they are going well. They are focused on trying to end the war in Yemen. Remember when Trump said, we need to end all these endless wars? Well, he's doing it behind the scenes. He's talking to these individuals without the deep state getting involved and creating his own peace negotiations. And guess what? We're going to see peace throughout the Middle East, in Yemen, in Afghanistan, in Syria, in Ukraine. All the wars the deep state pushed, they're coming to an end. Who's in control? The Patriots. Now, the swamp, they are being drained. Think about all those that have been fired or resigned from their positions. FBI, Department of Justice, CIA, politicians, you name it. Think about the investigations that are now nearing completion or are still ongoing. There have been no leaks. The Comey report, before it was released, had no leaks. They had no idea what was coming out. We are now going to experience the perfect storm. Trump tweeted out the following: I'm draining the swamp, and the swamp is trying to fight back. Don't worry, we will win. Letting everyone know that everything is under control. As more and more information is brought out to the public, the swamp is going to yell and scream. Why? Because they're feeling pain. You'll see this in Hollywood, which we see it. They're yelling and screaming at Trump. You're going to see it from politicians, the mainstream media. As more and more of this information is dripped out and the Patriots inflict pain, the swamp is going to scream and yell and attack day after day. This is to be expected. Don't worry about this. They're going to try to fight back, but it will not work. The truth will destroy all the propaganda. Let's go back to Q's post, which is exactly a year ago today, September 5th, 2018. Post 2096 gave us a picture of an American flag and the word patriot. A person who loves, supports, and defends his or her country and its interests with devotion. A person who regards himself or herself as a defender, especially on individual rights, against presumed interference by the federal government. Traitor, a person who betrays another, a cause, or any trust. A person who commits treason by betraying his or her country. Under this it says, fellow patriots, what you are about to learn should not only scare you, but intensify your resolve to take back control, freedom, that's in brackets and bold. The information that will become public will further demonstrate the criminal and corrupt, pure evil, that's in bold and in brackets, abuse of power that the Hussein administration undertook in joint efforts with domestic and foreign dignitaries. The snowball has begun rolling. There is no stopping it now. D5, the avalanche. Stay the course and trust the plan. Protective measures are in place. Remain brave. We knew this day would come. United we stand worldwide. Where we go one, we go all. We fight. Conspiracy no more. And this also had the video attached of Trump telling everyone how he was going to drain the swamp if he was elected. And he's doing that. We knew that this day was going to come. Think about when Trump first came into office and think about now. A lot has changed. Think about where we are today. the first IG report came out against Comey. Not looking too good for Comey right now. Wait until the second wave comes out. And this has to do with the 4 FISA warrants against Page. Think about this. They were illegal. He signed them. He lied to the FISA court. Remember, they're doing this in stages. Comey is actually panicking. The rest are panicking. Let's go back to post 187. This was all the way back November 21st, 2017. And Anon kind of summed up the whole thing with this one post back then in post 187. My actual conclusion is probably what's delayed me the most, as it's been mind-blowing understanding our country now. I totally get it. Current collusion. So Titanic, Rothschild screws America by making our money worthless. Crash of 29. Tons new government which doesn't fix the problem. Rothschild created, but war helps. CIA. Everyone blackmailed with sex tapes. Media consumed. CIA. Country forced hard left. Population to puppets. Causes uprising by certain patriots like Kennedy, Reagan, Trump. And while they managed to kill Kennedy and outlast Reagan, enough lessons were learned that we are now finally ready to clean house and become America again. First time in about 100 years. Wow. And remember, the founding fathers told us one day, again, we would have to fight for our freedom. And here we are today. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.